Thank you for the introduction. So today, many applications have sensitive data in memory with the assumption that the operating system is trustworthy. However, when the operating system is compromised, the OS can easily access sensitive data from the memory. So the goal of Ginseng is to protect sensitive data against a compromised operating system. In our TrustZone model, we trust hardware, ARM TrustZone, and the chain of trust. Except for these, we do not trust anything. We don't trust the applications, we don't trust the system software, or we don't trust operating system. Because we use ARM TrustZone, let me briefly explain ARM TrustZone. ARM TrustZone is a hardware security extension that separates a system into two worlds, normal world and the secure world. In the normal world, we install rich operating systems like Linux and Android, and we install many applications, including third-party applications. In the secure world, we install a thin, trusted operating system and install a few trusted applications. The most important feature of ARM TrustZone is the normal world cannot access system resources assigned to the secure world. For example, if we assign a portion of memory to the secure world, then the normal world cannot access the memory. Using ARM TrustZone and protecting sensitive data is not a new idea. One direction is to separate an application into two parts, sensitive part and the insensitive part. This insensitive part is shipped to the normal world and runs inside it. And the sensitive part is shipped to the secure world and runs inside it. This is very convenient and very effective because the normal world cannot access the secure world. However, the application has to be modified to adopt this programming model. So the other direction is to run unmodified application in the secure world. The application in the secure world has frequently communicated with the normal world for system services like file system. That means high overhead. But the biggest problem of these two approaches is not the overhead or the programming model. The biggest problem is they increase the attack surface of the secure world by putting more and more applications into the secure world. And if one of the applications has a vulnerability and it is exploited, then the whole secure world can be compromised. So to avoid this problem in Ginseng, we set two principles. The first principle is we do not run any application logic in the secure world because it leads to vulnerability. And second, we protect only sensitive data, because protecting insensitive data increases the overhead. Following these two principles, we designed Ginseng to protect sensitive data against an operating system. We use secure world, but we use it as a trusted computing base. The execution environment is provided by the normal world. The high-level idea of Ginseng is we keep sensitive data in registers only when the data are being used. When the data are not being used, we encrypt them and save them to the memory. Using register is a simple idea. However, it has challenges. The first challenge is we cannot keep sensitive data in registers forever. At some point, we have to save sensitive data from register to memory. And because we do not trust the operating system, the OS can easily change the application with sensitive data, or the operating system can change the control flow of the application. These are directly linked to the data confidentiality, code integrity, and control flow integrity. And today, I want to focus on the first challenge, and you can find our method for the last two challenges. In Ginseng, we have 4 design components. In the programming model, we provide a keyword sensitive so that the application developer can mark which variables are sensitive. And if the variables are marked sensitive, then the compiler ensures that the data in the register do not go into memory. And at runtime, the dynamic protection provides a secure stack of an encrypted memory region so that the application can save sensitive data to memory. the application with sensitive data runs in the normal world. And it uses secure stack when it needs to save sensitive data through the secure API. Our static protection is the compiler extension, and it has 3 goals. The register allocator ensures that the data in registers do not go into memory. And it uses as less registers as possible to avoid overhead. And the most interesting problem in the compiler is the compiler needs to protect sensitive data on a function call. On a function call, the compiler saves registers to memory. However, the compiler cannot use normal memory because the OS can access it. Instead, in Ginseng, before and after a call site, we build request with call site ID and a command to restore or save sensitive data, and sends it to the secure stack. As a result, during the execution of the printf does not see any sensitive data from register or memory. Then the question is how the compiler can send this request to the secure stack. We use secure API. The most important feature of the secure API is the ability for an application to call software in the secure world. There is a way using SMC instruction in ARM. However, this SMC instruction is only available to the operating system. So in Ginseng, we use security violation. Security violation happens when the normal world accesses secure world memory. So when a normal world application accesses secure world memory, then an exception about the security violation happens in the secure world, so that the application and the secure world can communicate directly bypassing the operating system. Using this ARM TrustZone, using this secure API and the compiler cross-site protection, we could protect sensitive data on a function call. However, the problem is an exception. The compiler does not know when an exception will happen at runtime. So in Ginseng, we intercept all exceptions at runtime only when any sensitive data are in registers. So on each exception vector of the kernel, we insert NOP instruction. And at runtime, before the Ginseng service loads any sensitive data from secure stack to register, it replaces this instruction with SMC instruction. That means the SMC instruction will be the first instruction to be executed on an exception. This is possible because only the Ginseng service can load sensitive data from secure stack to register. In summary, we provide, in Ginseng, we have 4 design components. In the programming model, we provide a keyword sensitive so that an application developer can mark which variables are sensitive. Then the compiler or the static protection ensures that the data in registers do not go into memory. And runtime, the dynamic protection provide secure stack so that the application can save sensitive data from registers to the memory. We implemented the prototype of Ginseng using the HiKey board. We implemented static protection by extending LLVM, and we implemented the Ginseng service using Rust to enjoy each linear type system and the type safety. We also modified the Linux kernel. In our evaluation, we want to answer 3 questions. What is the overhead for each protection that Ginseng provides? And what is the end-to-end overhead with real applications? And how hard is it to apply Ginseng to an application? I select a few evaluation results, and you can find the other results from the paper. This is the overhead on a function call. On a function call, the application saves sensitive data to the secure stack and restores the sensitive data after the function call. So the random type overhead starts from 30 kilocycles, and it increases along the number of registers to be encrypted or decrypted. The purple line is the overhead on an exception. The purple line is generally higher than generally higher than the overhead of the call site protection, because on an exception, we switches worth more. This is the end-to-end overhead with the real applications, and I want to highlight this yellow box. We first applied Ginseng to WPA supplicant using a very naive approach. And then we observed a significant overhead comes from call site protection. So we looked into the code and found that two functions with the sensitive data are called intensively, more than 4,000 times. So we optimized them by inlining small functions to reduce the number of call sites, and we could reduce the overhead by 75%. And I can say that this is a good example of using domain knowledge to reduce the overhead of Ginseng. Sometimes we only modified a few lines of code, but sometimes we had to change 100 lines of code. And this is mainly due to the limitation of our compiler prototype. Currently, our compiler prototype supports only primitive types. So when sensitive data are in array or a complex structure, then we manually chopped this big data to small primitive types. And we believe that with engineering effort in the compiler, we could reduce the number of lines of code to be modified. In conclusion, today I present Ginseng that protects sensitive data against a compromised operating system. Ginseng uses secure world, but it uses it as a trusted computing base. The execution environment is still provided by the normal world, so that we can protect sensitive data without running any application logic in the secure world. And finally, I argue that we, as a security engineer or researchers, we should stop abusing the secure world. We should stop putting more applications into the secure world. And thank you for listening to my talk, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Roland Yap, NUS. Just wanted to clarify. So, can the OS talk to the Ginseng to obtain the stack, for example?
I cannot hear you.
Can the OS talk to Ginseng and obtain the secure stack, save the saved values in the secure stack?
Could you repeat? So Ginseng, the runtime of Ginseng is running in the secure world, but so the OS cannot stop the Ginseng. However, the OS can refuse to use Ginseng. But in that case, the Ginseng cannot work, but it does not reveal any secret from the secure world. So the data confidentiality is still guaranteed.
There, Suchu, Storybook University. So could you please explain how the sensitive contexts are mapped to each application? How do you keep track of them if they're managed by the OS? So you have a sensitive stack, you have a secure stack for each application, right? In the secure memory. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. So we address that in the paper. So if there are multiple applications running, we use stack. If there are multiple applications are running, we use the stack pointer to differentiate multi-threads. And we also use I can make it offline. I can point out from the paper.
Okay, Min from UCI. So thanks for the talk. And I might be missed, but can you share some number about how this approach affect the register pressure?
How does this approach affect?
Because you marked explicitly the sensitive data to like in the code, right? So it might affect the register pressure during the compilations. Do you have any numbers to show this effect?
Okay, I see. So currently, our compiler uses up to 7 registers for sensitive data. And if the compiler needs more registers, then compiler can spill sensitive data to secure stack.
Yeah, that's a problem. It will increase the register pressures, right?
Pardon me?
It will increase the register pressures because you like reserve 7 registers dedicated for this purpose. So it will increase the register pressures.
Yes, right. That's correct. So, so we kind of reserve some register for sensitive data. So I can say that we protect sensitive data at the cost of overhead.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the excellent work. I'm Yajin from Zhejiang University. I have a question about how accuracy of your compiler to analyze the data flow of the sensitive data inside the application, because you need to track the data flow of the sensitive data inside the application using a compiler. My question is how accuracy of the of your compiler extension.
I'm very sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I mean how accuracy of your compiler extension to track the data flow of the sensitive data inside the application, because you need to analyze how the data how the data flows inside the application, like the sensitive data.
So is the question about how we track sensitive data flows?
Yeah, how accuracy of your compiler to track the sensitive data.
Okay, can you understand that? Yeah, so tracking sensitive data in a compiler is not a big problem. So compiler knows that which data goes with